welcome to another weekly update. I hope you're doing well. Hope you had a good week. So, I think all of the things I'm going to be talking about today are kind of AI related, a little bit of Copilot in there, but mostly AI related in general. So Azure AI, bit of crossover to what Copilot's doing. But yeah, so this is some stuff that's still coming out of Ignite. And this first link I want to share with you came out of a session that I saw at Ignite, and I thought it was really cool. So Microsoft have put together a kind of one-stop shop for AI called The Book of AI. So thebookof.ai is the website, and it's a great kind of like landing page if you kind of just want to just start learning about this stuff. I think actually even if you have already done some stuff with Azure AI and you kind of want to know about what's next, because in the last 12 months, it's really kind of gone in a lot of different directions. You know, there's the cloud-based, what used to be cognitive services side of things. There's obviously the models, there's local models, there's tutorials, there's all of the SDKs that are coming out, there's semantic kernel, there's speech, there's a lot. So this is an attempt to kind of put it all together in one place. And I think also would be really good for people coming into this. And, you know, if this is you, like you haven't missed this boat. You know, I spoke to someone just last week actually who said like, yeah, I'm thinking about getting into AI. Kind of finally, it's a big enough of a deal that I feel like this is something I want to like invest the time in understanding. If that is on Azure, then this is a good place to go. As you can see, so there's a nice Y at the top here, which kind of outlines all the things it can do. What they really try and do, this is for developers. This is development documentation aimed at developers. It's not marketing-y. There's no fluff in it. This is, okay, I want to get, you know, the CLI open. I want to start doing things. I want to get quickly into code and see what's possible. So this is cool. Like I say, there's a whole bunch of different places you could take this stuff around semantic kernel. Here's the CLI reference, which is kind of useful. The CLI I'm learning is actually a really useful tool. So if you haven't used the AI CLI before, it is kind of new, I think. Certainly it seems to have got a lot more sort of featured, but you can do really cool stuff with it, like just as a way of, it's that first stage of, can I do the thing I want to do before I really dig into writing loads of code? Is it even possible? The AI CLI is a nice way of doing that. And so AI stuff, go check that out. There's loads of resources on there. There's bound to be something that you won't have seen. So that's a really good one. The other thing that I found interesting out of Ignite, and this isn't that new, but it's kind of been updated and renamed, so it's kind of everything old is new again, and that's the AI Toolkit in Visual Studio Code. So this did used to be called something else, but this is an extension in Visual Studio Code that brings in lots of models into like a chat playground, a bit like the one in Azure OpenAI, sorry. But you've got access to both kind of cloud-based models, but also base models as well. So you can download and run like local models, is what I'm trying to say. Sorry, local models, as well as a bunch of models that come from sort of elsewhere, like some of the kind of Anthropic ones, some of the Mistral ones. There's a whole bunch of stuff. So it goes into Visual Studio Code as an extension. It does lots of other things as well, actually, but this is a good kind of landing place to just, this is the instructions to download it and install it, basically. There's a video on here about it as well. This is probably from Ignite, but it wasn't. It was from Build earlier when it was called something else. It's called Windows AI Studio. I feel like it's probably the same thing. It's just all been renamed to be more aligned with everything that's going on with AI at the moment. But definitely worth checking out if you use Visual Studio Code and you're not already using this extension. It's worth having a look at. It's good as like a playground for seeing what's possible, trying different models out and comparing different models, but then it's also good. It's got a bunch of like jumping off points again for creating projects, bringing in SDKs and stuff like that. And don't forget to log in with GitHub as well. It's a Visual Studio Code, because then you can use GitHub Copilot directly in Visual Studio Code, and that is a game changer, especially if you're learning new stuff. Like new languages and new concepts and stuff, having the Copilot there is super useful. Okay, let's talk Microsoft Graph for a moment, but it's still kind of AI themed. There's a new endpoint in Microsoft Graph, and this is for viewing the Copilot interactions of a user. Yes, so if you're an admin, you can run this against a user and you can find all of the interactions they've had with Copilot. So this is not just the biz chat Copilot, the one, the kind of experience you get from the Copilot sort of tab in office.com. This is also Copilot in Teams, Copilot in Word, in Excel, in all the Microsoft 365 places. There's a one big stream of all the interactions, what was said, what was referenced, what documents were shown up, and all that kind of stuff. That is now in Microsoft Graph as a endpoint that you can call. It's currently in beta, and a couple of things to notice. So it's currently in beta. It's only application specific. There is no like user delegated thing for this. So you can't, it's not an easy way to get my own interactions. It is just for admins running applications, or anyone really running an application that's got enough permissions, but it needs admin consent to go and get it. It's on a /Copilot endpoint, which is kind of new and exciting. There is, the only other thing on there is the limited mode toggle for Teams meetings that stops any kind of pronunciation on, pronouncing, what's it called? Talking about pronouncements. I think that's what I'm looking for. Around sentiment. So if you don't want your Copilot to say what the sentiment of a meeting was like, you can turn that off. But yeah, I think that's the only thing that's on there at the moment. You can date filter it. Obviously, it's done by user. The interesting thing is that there is stuff in the documentation about the fact that it's going to be chargeable. So they're using the model equals A, model equals B stuff that we saw with the change notifications and the export stuff. I think that'll be interesting to see if that survives going from beta to GA. I'm not sure if it's just copy and pasted in or whether it is really the intention to charge for this endpoint. It doesn't feel like it's doing an awful lot. It's a fairly transactional API, so I'm not quite sure what the reasoning there for charging is. So that will be an interesting one to watch. But at the moment, looking at the documentation, it references the payment model. So just bear that in mind if you do start building it into something. That it may become something that's chargeable when it goes to GA. And finally, there's a new study. So if you need stats about AI to convince your boss or anyone else, IDC have just come out with another AI Opportunity Study. So this one was sponsored by Microsoft, but I mean, so they're using the information from it. But there are some really interesting stats in there. So Gen AI usage jumped from 55% last year to 75% this year. That's a pretty big jump. And there's some other things as well in there as well. There's some good findings around ROI based on, every dollar invested returns $3.7. So that's kind of a lot. Like if you need to justify your next Gen AI project, that's quite a good stat to use. Within 24 months, most organizations plan to expand beyond pre-built AI solutions to advanced AI workloads. I mean, 24 months is a long time in AI, so I feel like I probably would have said yes as well if they'd asked me. Yeah, who knows, right? I mean, by 24 months' time, advanced AI workloads could be like you don't actually, you don't need to custom build them. They're just, they build themselves. Who knows? Lots and lots of good stats in here. Definitely worth reading through all of these and getting as much as you can out of them. So that's all good as well. All right, I think that is everything from me. In terms of what's happening, I'm still going through the Ignite content. There is still a bit of that left to go, but I think all the major announcements are out. It's probably going to be quiet now in the rundown to Christmas. So we'll look around and see what other interesting things are happening. I really do want to get out. I've got like a project code thing that I want to get out and open sourced if I can before Christmas. That would be great. So we'll see how that goes. All right, that's everything from me, and have a great week, whatever it is you're doing.